Well, good evening, everybody out there in internet land. Hi, and how are you doing? My name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. This wonderful lady on my stage right is Tracy Barkley from GenX Marks the Spot, and you have arrived at the Wednesday night newsroom, a fun little gathering of newsies, porch hounds, Fedora Nation, and various other folk across social media, where we all hang out together and we talk about what the heck is going on in the world. And man, as with every day ever since January 20, news is all over the place. It is wild. It is crazy. We're going to try and cover some of it. And with that, I turn to my friend. Good evening, Miss Tracy. How you doing tonight?
I'm great, Brian. How about you?
I am so good. I tell you what, we're going to do various commercials throughout the evening, but why don't you just go ahead and let everybody know where are you at on social media? And if they're not following you, what the heck is the matter with them, number one? But number two, what can they do to change that?
Well, you can follow me right on the YouTubes, right here and at GenX Marks the Spot, over on X at Tracy Barkley. Not quite I'll set up on Rumble yet. It will come, but I do kind of a scattershot of content on my YouTube channel, everything from true crime and history to politics to fantasy lore like Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, that sort of thing. I do a series that's pretty popular called What If, and I take fictional content and I tweak one thing in the storyline and kind of give my rendition of what would happen if something changed. So that's a pretty popular little series I have. But yeah, I just try to have fun over there, and when you come over to my channel, we try to do something a little lighter than politics. So if you want a little change from politics, come on over there.
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I think we've got it lined up. I think our next one is top 10 superheroes on your channel, correct?
Right, top 10 superhero and superhero movies, yes.
Yeah, top 10 superheroes and superhero movies, which
I
given
do want to
that
ask, can we tweak that a little bit and include TV shows in that as well?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with that. I'm perfectly fine with that. So yeah, and by the way, and that actually is rather timely with a new Marvel movie coming out on Valentine's Day. Gentlemen, if you're looking for a way to impress your lady and she's got geek tendencies, yeah, we're just trying to help you out here. Look, as we are both, as Tracy and I are a lady of the world and a man of the world, and we know how these things go. Let's be honest about it, fellas. Some of y'all are out there, and ladies too. Some of y'all are out there trying to figure out what you're going to do on Valentine's Day. Well, if your significant other has any measure of geek tendency, hey, we got an idea for you. Now, we're not saying that this new Marvel movie is good or bad. We're just giving you the option, okay? So there you go. There you go. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let us just jump right in, and we will start as is our wont. We're going to see first who is here. Gypsy's in the house this tonight. Tulsi made it, voted no, and honey, we're going to get it. We're going to get into this.
I got thoughts. Brian has thoughts. We got thoughts.
Well, I've already had my ears singed off backstage for what she thinks about McConnell, but we'll get into that. Let's see. Our favorite crazy Canadian, Adam Worrell, is here. Good evening, sir. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Let's see. Who's over on the Rumble side? The Wingnuts look like they are almost fully represented. WWG1 has dropped his memes, and brother, I'm getting all of them in tonight. So I promise you. Matter of fact, the way I'm going to do it, I think you're going to enjoy it. And TBA is here. Tulsi Gabbard confirmed, and oath is taken. Yes, she is in. And let me tell you something. Now and tomorrow, God willing, it's going to be RFK Jr. Plus, the Judiciary Committee votes Kash Patel out of committee and takes it to the Senate floor. So we're rolling, folks. It's getting there. Taking a little bit of time doing it, but it's getting there. So hang on, my brothers and sisters. We're getting there. All right. Let us see. All right. With that, we will dive right into the merry memes. Now, for those of you who are maybe finding this live stream for the first time, and you're like, what are you talking about, the merry memes? Well, if you think back to a certain time, and some of this might be for people of a certain vintage, there was the Merry Melodies that the Warner Brothers company put out by way of cartoons. Well, now we have the merry memes. And the merry memes tonight sort of revolve around one great subject, and that is Elon Musk and Doge and their work in government right now. Now, people have kind of been asking me, and they probably asked Tracy the same thing. What is this formal process that gets Doge into an agency? In other words, how does Elon know when he is supposed to, pay a visit with the Doge boys to a particular, agency or department of the government? Well, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, um, the cabinet secretaries, at least the ones that have been confirmed so far, and the deputy secretaries, etc., have figured out a way to get Elon's attention to let him know that it's time for him and the Doge boys to pay a call on that particular place where they want them to be. And I don't know how original this idea is or how efficient it's going to be, but apparently this is the signal to let Elon know that it's time for he and the Doge boys to show up at a particular place in the federal government. Now, what this means exactly, I don't know, but I'm just saying this is what I have heard is the way that Elon is advised, hey, brother, it's time for you to come in. So I'm not saying, but we're just saying. Now, that also gets into another very interesting question. What is it like when Elon rolls up? Well, it's very stylish, apparently. As Elon is, billionaire, sophisticated man of the world, etc., and so on. What is it like when Elon Musk rolls up on a federal agency? Well, folks, we've even got the Porch Hounds have been out in earnest and have brought back video of what it's like when Elon Musk rolls up on an agency. So with that, we thought we'd play you a little bit of it. So here you go.
The name is Balls. Harry Balls.
I don't know. Tracy, I mean, that is an entrance. That's all I'm saying.
And something tells me it's a lot like that.
Yeah, I mean, tuxedo, everything else,
And
it's something.
I saw a meme that was pretty descriptive. It was him kind of looking out of a window like Jim from The Office, looking out the window and smirking. And all it said was, watching the government officials you just fired drive off in your car, in a car you made.
Probably true. Probably true. Now that also gets to something else. What is it like when the Doge boys roll into an agency? I mean, is there a certain thing they say to somebody, or is there like code words to let them? I mean, how does this work exactly? Well, again, the Porch Hounds have been out in earnest, and they have even caught photo of what it's like when Doge rolls into a certain place. No one expects the Doge. So yes, apparently, and I don't know if they wear these red outfits or not, but I tell you what, if they do, I give Elon credit for being stylish in his tuxedos, but if the Doge boys are rolling up in these outfits, well, no wonder they're putting the fear of God into people. We're not saying, but we're just saying.
The fear of God is definitely into politicians on both sides of the aisle, both the Democrats and rhinos. I mean, didn't Elizabeth Warren just physically put her hands on a reporter that dared ask her, how does she have a congressional salary of $175,000 a year, but has a net worth in the millions? How does that work, Senator? And she, instead of answering him, shoved him. And I believe he is suing her in civil court.
I believe that is correct. Matter of fact, I might pull that up as one of the stories we take a look at tonight, because that is actually worth talking about, because it's not just, she's not the only one who's done this. I want to say, was it Jasmine Crockett or was it Idea Presley? One of those two did almost something similar. And I'm sitting here going, y'all are coming unhinged. If this is what you guys are doing in reaction to a reporter asking you legitimate questions. I mean, look, you may not like the question, and you may think the guy or lady is a butthole, But you know what? It's called freedom of the press. They've got the right to do it, you know.
And if you were honest, you would answer him. If that was me, and if I had been a congressman making just under $200,000 a year, and I had aggressed a net worth of $12 million, I would have turned. If I was honest, I would have turned around and said, "Okay, I bought this house, and this house this year, and year. I used the equity from this house to buy this house. I have all these rental properties now, and all of them have now, the value has gone up to such that I have net worth of $6 million or whatever it is. That's how I did it."
Yeah, and Christian Watson brings up, I mean, she could say, speaking engagements, book deals, hand-me-downs, etc., investments. Yeah, I mean, I don't dispute all of that, but
or my spouse may have a 401k that's worth quite a way.
Exactly. But I mean, but to me, the greater issue is, seriously, someone asks you a question, and as opposed to saying, "Look, I appreciate the fact you can ask the question. I really don't feel like answering this. I feel like I've answered this before. Thank you very much for your time." No,
feel free to you can pull my tax returns.
Yeah, you can pull my tax returns no matter public record. Yeah. I mean, but instead, allegedly, she elbows this guy as he's walking along beside of her. And I'm like, oh, really? This is the place we're getting to? I mean, not that I'm shocked by this, but, so still. And then, then it's like, the reaction of I'm just going to let this one speak for itself. This one's just too good. I'm sorry. Like I say, I need not do any introduction to this other than just let it talk for itself. The same people who are trying to tell you can't trust these young people working for Doge are the same probably people who are believing Greta Thunberg since she was 13 years old. That is so flippin' true.
The difference is that these are not their young people. These are not the crazy radical. These are highly intelligent, STEM-oriented young men, the very men that they have tried so hard to ostracize for the last 20 years and make them feel like they're nothing, that now have the upper hand on them, and it drives them crazy. These are gaming, code writing, Mountain Dew swigging, pot smoking young men.
I know. And to go back to the previous, the Inquisition. Let's begin the Inquisition. Look out, sin. Yeah, I wish now I hadn't closed that one out. That I mean, because now we're mixing Monty Python and Mel Brooks. So I mean, it's absolutely awesome. I think it's great. Absolutely great. Anyway. But then, it sort of begs the question, what happens when Elon and the Doge boys get through with a federal agency? What does it look like? Well, again, I'm just going to let this one speak for itself. Oh boy. Yep, it's kind of like Fredo out on Lake Tahoe. Just saying. And if you know the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly of what I speak. So there you go. All right. And that brings the Merry Meme section of the live stream to a conclusion. And with that, we're going to shift it over to Tracy for the first topic of the night. So, my dear, as always, turn it loose and lay it on us. What you got?
Well, I'm going to send you over a link.
All right.
This is basically something that will fit right into the Merry Memes, because this is also basically people making memes of themselves, so to speak. But yesterday, or actually last evening, in Worcester, Massachusetts,
God.
how should I say it? Individuals decided to approach the town council, and they basically bullied the town into making their little town a safe space, or a sanctuary city, quote unquote, for trans people.
Okay.
And so I just sent you over that video. It's 5 minutes long, but I think it's worth a look, so you can see these people who fear Trump so much and are probably some of the strongest supporters of the Democratic Party. I think it's important to you to see them, their attitude, and their cognitive dissonance about what's going on in the world right now.
Now, Tracy, you say these people. You're actually kind of intriguing me here. I mean, exactly who showed up to advocate for the position of making Worcester, Massachusetts, a sanctuary city for the trans community? I mean, what are we talking about here?
You're talking about. Did you get the link in the private
Oh,
chat?
I have the link. Oh my goodness! Oh my word! What the? Okay, this is gonna get interesting. All right.
Basically, you have living memes, clowns. This truly demonstrates that we are living in clown world, Brian. And I know this is 5 minutes long, but it is worth a watch all the way through.
Well, I've got to say, first of all, I love the gloves and the pearls, but it just does not go with that outfit. I'm sorry.
No, no.
Okay.
Can you imagine coming out in public and presenting yourself? That's literally clown. That's literally Ronald McDonald's blue-haired sister.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, folks, we're going to do live reaction to this. So, Tracy, if at any point you want me to stop it, or if at any point I'm going to stop it, we'll do that. So, I tell you what, here we go.
And first of all, I want to apologize to everyone out there. As you know, the LGB has officially cut themselves off from TQIA and the rest of it.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
this is why we want to apologize for this.
Okay. All right. Everybody's been apologized to. Y'all have been forewarned. And with that, here we go.
I need the city to protect me because the federal government won't. And if you think you're afraid of Trump, you should see how afraid of Trump I am.
Okay, well, first of all, that's a you problem. But here's the question I've got. Why are you afraid? What the heck is Donald Trump going to do to you?
Exactly. I don't understand it. Okay, I'm going to rant here for about 2 seconds.
Oh, go right ahead.
True transgender people, and when I say true transgender people, I mean transsexuals, what we used to call old-fashioned transsexuals, people that have true gender dysphoria, that have a mental illness. They are aware they have a mental illness, and the only way they can keep from unaliving themselves is to dress like the opposite sex and try to pass in life as the opposite sex. That's the only reason they do it, is to keep themselves from getting to the point they want to end their life, right?
Okay. All right.
They're 0.5% of the total population. The thing of it is, when I was coming up, you never knew who these people were. And you want to know why? Because they passed and they assimilated into society. The only way you would know is if you deigned to go out on a date with one, because you couldn't tell the difference and they told you that. That's the only way. It's never been a new thing for somebody that has had an official sex change to be able to go to the DMV and change the sex on their driver's license, their birth certificate, all of that stuff. You could do that at some point, and you could get that on your official documents with very little trouble, as long as you had a court order that says your name had been and your gender had been, sex had been legally changed, official gender had been legally changed, at least your name.
Yep.
You could change your name to a feminine sounding name on all your documents, or a masculine, whatever it may be. That was not a new thing. Do you know why it became so controversial? Because these activists that wanted to keep a job after gay marriage became legal, they were out of a job. We had achieved full equality.
Yeah.
And so they had to stir up more controversy, and they made that controversial. And now you can't do that anymore. Why?
Yeah.
Because congratulations, you played yourself. The only thing Trump has said is that these people who are mentally ill, obviously, cannot serve in the military. You cannot change your sex to X on birth passports anymore.
Passports. Yeah, exactly.
And if you travel, you need to be careful, because not every country agrees with that.
Yep.
That's all that's happened. Why is she afraid?
Yeah, that's great. And to,
or
and to
her,
go to
or
Christian
he, or
and
whatever.
to go to Christian Watson. Do you remember Divine, the comedian actor? Yeah, I do. I do. Yeah. Now I got to Google real fast before I.
Pink
Yep, I do.
Flamingo,
Yep.
Hairspray.
Yep. Now I do remember it now because I just Googled real fast to look up the picture. Yeah, I do remember specifically. But
Christian,
yeah,
that's old school gay. That's old school gay stuff.
Woo.
I'm so happy that you remember that.
All right, let's
I
get
say
back.
brother, I don't know, but that's
let's
old
get-
school gay stuff.
Yeah, let's get back to this because this is gonna be good.
Can you wrap up, please?
Yes, I can. If you say that you're afraid of Trump and that's why you don't want the city to be a safe space for trans people, you better prepare for trans people to make this a very unsafe space.
Okay,
I'm shaking right now.
Okay.
I don't want to be here.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
So she wants a safe space, but if you don't give it to us, I'm going to make you unsafe in your own town.
Well, and here's my question.
Threaten those people.
Yeah, you threaten them and threaten them. You said what? 1/2 of 1%. Was the number, I think, for the percentage of people
transsexuals,
of true transsexual.
Now, this is not gender dysphoria. This is out and out mental illness of a type that I've never seen before.
Yeah, and
this is people putting forward this. It's approaching fetishes. There's a video that Buck Angel shared today on X that is some old school transsexuals from the 70s telling the difference between a true transsexual and a cross-dresser. Mm-hmm. And basically a transsexual is somebody like I just described. You will never know what they are unless you're intimately involved with them because they pass and they don't make waves and they just want to live their lives. And then you have the cross-dressers. These are the men, straight men normally. Maybe there's some gay men in there, but mainly straight men that get their jollies off, dressing like females, and they like to objectify real women. That's what's taken over the movement, and that's what you see right there.
Yeah, I mean, I just looked up the stat on Worcester, Massachusetts, a town of a little over 207,000 people. So let's think about this for a second. A town of 207,000 people, and if the statistic is true, 1/2 of 1% of true transsexuals, then you're talking basically 1,000 people out of a population of 200,000 who are going to make waves in Worcester, Massachusetts. I'm terrified of the possibilities. Just I'm sitting here quaking in my chair. Oh my God. Oh, I tell you, this if the first one was, this one's going to get real good. I'm going to back this up just a few seconds. And here we go.
Very unsafe space.
I'm shaking right now. I don't want to be here.
Up,
I'm sorry. Am I taking too long pleading for my life?
You remembered how many children I have and that 2 of them are trans.
I speak as both the B and the T in the LGBT.
I'm multiply disabled. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder that causes me immense physical pain. I'm on the autism spectrum, and I have narcolepsy, and I couldn't drive myself here. So I had to hide from my driver that I was in drag, which is not an easy thing to do in drag.
I do not want to be here. It's my day off. I do not want to be in your DMs. I do not want to be in your email inboxes. I do not want my creativity writing diss tracks like Kendrick. I don't want to spend an hour applying glitter on my face so that you will hear and see me. I want you to listen to me.
Let us.
Mother of God, no, I'm not going to listen to you, but okay, we'll do it anyway. All right, let us go on. This should be funny.
Let's remember that the Nazis burned the books that the Nazis burned books on gender sciences first. Now the administration has villainized and marginalized migrant workers, trans, LGBT people, and even special needs, denying life-saving and affirming care.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Whoa.
Whoa, hold up. Wait a minute.
No
No.
one is being denied life, gender affirming care except minors under the age of 19, I believe it is. 19. If you're over the age of 19 and you want to go have a sex change, you are perfectly free to go do that. He just ended
Exactly.
it for minors.
And I would like to point out something that many people, Tracy, Carrie Smith, and others have said. There are no such thing as trans children. Okay? There are no such thing as trans children.
No.
Will you please cut the crap?
Children believe in Santa Claus. Children believe in the Easter Bunny. Children will legitimately tell you, I'm a puppy, I'm a kitten, and and believe it at the time.
Oh, absolutely.
Growing up a gay girl that was questioning her sexuality, I was quite gender dysphoric. And you want to know why? Because I'm a tomboy. I'm not Miss Feminine. And so, but I'm still a woman.
Exactly. Yeah, and you will not use my son's disability because you don't quite fit in. I've had enough of it. Preach it, sister. And by the way, Lana's reaction is the reaction of a lot of people. And now it's like, okay, we're done with this. We're done with this. You have pushed it and pushed it and pushed it and tried to shove this down everybody's throat, and everybody has had enough. And
I've had enough.
And with all due respect, and I mean, and you can speak on behalf of the gay and lesbian community as much or better than anybody else, Tracy. But I mean, Mike Harlow is this way. Brentley, Daniel. I mean, our mutual friends are all like, we don't want to be even associated with this madness. We don't want this. This is crazy what's being done in our names and in the name of our movement. And I'm like, hey, I'll stand right here with you. This is crazy. This is absolutely nuts. These people are unhinged.
Right. Look at every single one of those people we have seen. I think the person in the blue hair is actually a woman. I think.
Yeah, I believe you're right.
So there's one male that says he's that's obviously a male.
Yep.
And everyone else there is female except for that one guy. These are all obvious. This one might be a guy, but I think it's a female. They obviously just have issues and they're a little bit weird and they don't quite fit in.
Yep.
Welcome to life.
Thank you.
Find your own tribe where you do fit in.
Exactly. I mean, this is okay. Now here's the question that I have, practically speaking. Because as the story is now pointed out, Worcester, Massachusetts voted to make the city a sanctuary city for gay and lesbian and trans people. Okay, what does that mean practically and legally? What does it do?
No one's coming after any of those people unless they commit a crime.
No one is coming after anybody. If you commit a crime, it doesn't matter if you're gay or straight or what the hell ever. You have broken the law. Yeah. For that, yes, we will come after you. Why? Not because of anything you are, because of what you have done. You have broken the law that applies equally to all people.
This is one part a mental health crisis that they've got so many mental illnesses going on. I don't even want to touch it. And two, it's a issue of fetishism, especially among the men that like to cross dress.
Yeah.
It's a fetish. They're bringing their fetish out of the bedroom into the public. There's a term for it. It's called autogynephilia. Basically, it's a fetish where straight men get their jollies off of imagining themselves as a woman. And that's what 90% of those men are. Now, if they were truly transsexual, they wouldn't. Don't make that big of a fuss. They just do their best to pass as the sex they feel that they are, and they go about their lives, and they get pulled in to this horse shit. It just sets everybody back. It sets everybody back because everybody's sick of this crap.
Now, wait a minute. What was the name of that disease that you called it again?
Autogynephilia.
Okay, that sounded like a Hawaiian island I once heard about. Come on, I want to lay ya. I'm sorry. It was low hanging fruit. I had to go there. I'm sorry. All right, let's before this show goes totally down the toilet. All right, let's get back to this because this is just oh my god, this is.
Can you look at me and tell me how many of my friends need to die before you do anything?
Please wrap
Look
up.
at
Who's
me.
gonna die?
Okay, we're all done here.
Fucking
Hey,
pathetic.
we're all done. Come on.
Of course, we need to continue celebrating Black History Month because in
Don't
spite
bring
of
black
what's
people
coming,
into this. Black people have nothing to do with
we
this.
all know that we all exist and we all need to be recognized for our existence.
But be aware that you are a guest in my house when you come. And when you come, know that there are strong queer and trans people in my classroom who will collect you with the quickness.
My name in drag is Dee Dee Delight. And my name out of drag is Dewey Cosgrove Atienza.
Laddie LaRouge, he, they, in drag, District 3.
My legal name is Olivia D'Ambrosio. My public name is Livy Scanlon. My wife and I own a home in the Canal District.
I speak as
Okay.
someone who is always misgendered, like all the time. People
Gee, I wonder
Wonder
why.
refer to me as sir when I prefer to be referred to as
Look
man.
at that schnoz.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right, now I'm going to rant for a minute. I'm sorry. You can only be referred to by a certain pronoun. He and him. Why? Because you're born a man. You might, in the words of Aretha Franklin, you might feel like a natural woman, but you a man. There are only two pronouns that you can be referred to, my friend. He and him. That's it. We're not playing this BS game. Oh, I want you to refer to me as she. I don't give a hang in hell what you want to be referred to as. You're going to be referred to as he and him. Why? You're a male. Get over it.
There's not a single one of those people that are trying to cross-dress that would pass for the sex or the gender they say they want to be.
Oh, Lord, no.
Not
Lord,
one
no.
of them.
Nope.
And I got news for Miss Blue Hair. As somebody that used to manage a drag bar, being a woman and dressing like that does not mean you're not in drag.
No.
That means you're impersonating a male.
Exactly.
If a woman dresses in drag, and you're not doing it well.
Honey. No. All right, let's get back to some more of this blood pressure raising material. Thank you, Tracy, for bringing this. I'm just kidding. This is good. All right, here we go.
I speak as someone who is afraid to use public toilets. I speak as someone who is a member of this community and is a queer person.
You have to imagine being me and my wife, fearing that our marriage rights will be stripped away at any moment.
Again, who's threatening to do that? No one.
No
one is threatening to do this.
The only thing even remotely like that was that some legislators in Idaho got together and put together this whole announcement saying, we as the group disagree with gay marriage. We would like to see Robert.
Yeah.
We would like to see the Supreme Court revisit Obergefell. But guess what? That doesn't happen unless a true court case is coming through the system, which there is none anywhere in the country right now to challenge that. And if you do an analysis of the court, right now on the court, Clarence Thomas is the only one that thinks there's any merit to challenging Obergefell. It's not going to happen. And let's say at the very least that it did happen. The worst that's going to happen is that states that did not want to issue same-sex marriage license would not issue them in the future. Any existing marriage would still be honored. And because of the Respect for Marriage Act that was passed in Congress,
that's right.
All states have to recognize marriages done in other states across the country. So no one's going to lose your marriage rights. And this is coming from somebody that doesn't believe that the Supreme Court should have been the one to say gay marriage was legal. That should have been a function of the states, but it's too far to go back on that now. But they're putting out all of this paranoia just to mess with people's minds.
Yeah, because I mean, first, exactly. Let's just assume for a moment you're right that the Supreme Court tomorrow said gay marriage, as we define it in Oberfeld, is struck.
Going back to the states. Send it back to the states.
It goes back to the states. Number one, the states have laws that prevent ex post facto. They will not go back and reverse the marriage licenses that are already done and established on the books in their respective states, number one. Like you said, number two, because of the Commerce Clause, more than anything else, all those marriages will be respected across state lines. And number three, you still have the option of civil union, which still carries all the same legal weight and ramification when it comes to questions of inheritance or anything else. So it's like, okay, even if the court did overturn it tomorrow, what in the infernal regions of hell difference is it going to make? None. Not one bit.
Gay people have had lifelong partnerships and have been leaving their estates to their partner for years without civil unions, without marriage. You want to know why? Because wills and living trusts and those things are a thing.
Yep. All right, here we go with some more of this. This should be good.
Please, I only have so much time. Please, Joe's going to cut me off.
Which matters more? Covering the legal fees of systemic police brutality or protecting the lives of queer people in our community? How many lives have to be lost before you consider fighting back against fascism and corruption?
Now is the time to say that if federal money relies on the dehumanization of trans people, that we don't want your goddamn money.
I get that some of you care more about easy funding than trans lives and don't mind Nazis for some whatever reason, but
okay, I'm sorry.
Who's a freaking Nazi? Stop calling normal people Nazis.
Yes, and please explain to me who recently has been killed in the gay and lesbian community in outright crime. I mean, I remember the Pulse nightclub, but that was years ago, and frankly, had nothing to do with the current political environment in which we find ourselves.
That was actually another repressed homosexual.
Exactly, who did the killing in that one. So I mean, please tell me who apparently in the age of Trump is going around, offing gay and lesbian people in the name of exactly.
If you want to look at the last string of school shootings, how many of those were perpetrated by trans people?
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Nashville school shooting from a couple of years ago. That the FBI does not want to touch. They don't want information getting out about it. They don't want anything turned loose on that. They shut that thing down. Matter of fact, the feds came in and shut down the Nashville PD's investigations on it and said, okay, we want the manifesto, we want the diaries, we want all that. And nobody for the longest time was allowed to look at any of that.
Right.
And then
that's not the only one. There's been at least 4 others.
Yeah,
a trans person was the perpetrator, and yet the media doesn't cover that. But if it had been reversed and a normie had walked into a school and shot up a bunch of trans people,
oh yeah,
that would have been all over the news. But you didn't see that. You didn't see Lincoln Riley being the crime of an illegal migrant, killing her. It's just no one is hurting you. No one is hurting you. We don't have time. We're taking care of our own lives. We don't have time to worry about you.
You know the song that ought to be put on a CD or put in everyone's playlist for these people? Get Over It by the Eagles. Someone needs to find your inner child and kick its little ass.
Followed up by You're So Vain by Carly Simon, because
the
entire world revolves around them.
And speaking of vain, let's get back to some more of this.
Normally, I would say good evening, but through the chair, I will only impart my sour grapes.
Oh, God.
It's an extremely emotional and taxing thing to stand up here as part of the trans and gender diverse community.
It should be taxing for those earrings you're wearing. They're probably causing you way down your neck or something, man.
Oh, and here's this idiot with the COVID mask.
Oh, Lord, yes. Let's see what he has to say.
My name is Katie. I'm from District 5, and I'm speaking in support of agenda items 10B and 14B. Right now in our country, Trump is threatening the trans and gender diverse community.
How? How? Please, someone tell me from this group, how in the infernal regions of Dante's hell is Donald Trump threatening the gay and lesbian and trans community? Please, somebody explain this to me. The Treasury Secretary is gay. Rick Grinnell, who's a kind of a roving ambassador for special projects, is gay. Please, somebody tell me how Donald Trump is threatening the gay and lesbian and trans community. Can somebody explain this to me? I'm dying to hear this one. Oh, mother of God. And then they got a little kid. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hang on, y'all.
Threatening the trans and gender diverse community.
Noticing people here are trying to control the rights of others, and that's not right. We should make Worcester a sanctuary city for trans people. Everybody deserves to feel safe, and everybody needs to feel safe. I've lived here for 4 years, and there hasn't really been any changes in how people feel safe in the city. My birthday is this Saturday, and all I want is peace and for you to vote yes. Please don't let me down for my birthday. There's a lot of queer people that I love, and to Candy Carlson, you should know to never call someone I'm 7 and I know better. The kids are watching and we're ready to vote you out.
Okay, I'm sorry. That is some of the most manipulative. My blood's boiling. My blood is boiling. You used a 7-year-old kid as a political prop.
Yep.
Oh. Oh. I could blow a gasket right now. I could blow a gasket. TBA over on Rumble said, as I said it, child abuse. Yeah. That is straight up child abuse.
Child abuse, yeah.
It may not be physical,
and that child is
mental.
probably living in a home where there's one or more of these characters that live there, and he's probably being groomed to be that way himself. Let's be honest.
Exactly. I mean, my blood is just about to boil. I mean, there's a few more seconds of this, but I think it's just routine stuff at the tail end of it.
Right.
But yeah. Worcester, Massachusetts, ladies and gentlemen, have declared themselves to be a sanctuary city for not illegals, not for repressed races around the world. No, for the gay, lesbian, and trans community.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
And again, from the other half of that community, LGB, I thoroughly apologize for this horseshit.
Yeah, well, honey, you don't need to apologize to me or to anybody else, but I get it. I understand why you feel that way, because that's just wow. Just wow. All right. Well, with that, it's about 6:45, so we're going to do our first commercial of the night. This wonderful lady over here is Tracy Barkley from GenX Marks the Spot, one of the finest exemplars of the state of Tennessee, and they're wonderful people. I, on the other hand, am Brian Trippett. I am known in social media as the Front Porch Conservative, and as I'm fond of saying, I'm American by nationality, Southerner by residence, and West Virginian by the grace of God. We are hosting the Wednesday night Newsroom, which is a fun little get-together where we sometimes raise each other's blood pressure with the stuff we bring in. Hopefully, we are informative and fun and allow you all to take a look at some stuff that maybe you hadn't seen in the news. Now, if you like what we're doing, if you are enjoying and appreciating watching me just go apoplectic over here, among other reactions I'm having, why don't you do us both a favor and subscribe to both of our channels? She's got a channel on YouTube. So do I. I've also got one on Rumble. And we're also both on Twitter. So please give us a follow in all places. We would genuinely appreciate it. And with that, we will go ahead and move on to our next topic of the night. And I'll take this one across the fence. An interesting story out of Cincinnati, Ohio. And this is one of those I'm taking with a grain of salt because I don't know yet. Let's see how this plays out. There has been much controversy in recent times about the jabby jab, the COVID-19 vaccine, and whether you should be mandated to take it. And if you don't take it, what does that mean as far as, your rights to and access to certain things? Well, there's a story out of the New York Post that is, once it gets circulated around real good, people are going to be like, you got to be kidding me. Now, again, let's see if all this pans out to be true. But there are some fairly famous people involved in this. And with that, I take you to the pages of the New York Post. Headline: J.D. Vance's 12-year-old relative denied heart transplant because she's unvaccinated. Story by Isabel Keene. We have the following. Dateline Cincinnati. A 12-year-old Indiana girl who is related to J.D. Vance, Vice President of the United States, has been barred from a spot on the heart transplant list because she's not been vaccinated against COVID-19 and the flu, according to her parents. Adeline Deal, a distant relative of the Vice President by marriage through his half-siblings, was born with two rare heart conditions that her family knew would one day require a transplant, her mother, Janine Deal, told the Cincinnati Enquirer. Adeline, who was adopted from China when she was 4 years old, was treated at Cincinnati Children's Hospital for nearly 10 years, and her parents hoped she would get the transplant there. Cute-looking little girl. Reading further into the story, but the hospital requires transplant patients to be vaccinated and declined to make an exception even when that goes against the family's religious belief as non-denominational Christians, the parents said. Quote, I thought, wow, so it's not about the kid. It's not about saving her life, Janine Deal, the mother, told the newspaper of the hospital's decision to deny her daughter. The mom, who believes vaccines are unsafe, said she and her husband decided not to vaccinate Adeline against COVID-19 or the flu after, quote, the Holy Spirit put it in our hearts. Vaccinations against preventable diseases are recommended for transplant recipients because those patients are much more vulnerable to infection. Okay, that's statistically, scientifically true. For patients with severe illnesses like Adeline, who has Epstein's anomaly and Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome, there is a higher risk of death if infected with COVID compared to other patients, according to Camille Cotton, the clinical director of transplant and immunocompromised host infectious diseases at Massachusetts General Hospital. Quote, the first year after transplant is when there's the highest risk of infection, and they do have a lifelong risk of severe disease, and transplant patients are still dying because of COVID-19, Dr. Cotton said. Janine, however, said she was confident her family, including 11 other children, would not have any problems with COVID-19 after the transplant. Quote, we'll take it as we can if it happens, Janine said, but I know I cannot put this vaccine in her body knowing what we know and how we feel about it. A Cincinnati Children's spokesperson declined to confirm that Adeline had been kept off the transplant list, but told the Enquirer that the hospital's clinical decisions are guided by science, research, and best practices, and the hospital follows guidelines from the NIH. Quote, we tailor care plans to each patient in collaboration with their family to ensure the safest, most effective treatment, spokesperson Bo McMillian said. Adeline's parents now hope to take her to a different transplant center that won't require her to be vaccinated, with a GoFundMe for the transplant raising more than $50,000 as of Wednesday morning. Okay, so that's the story. Your reaction?
Well, I think it's sad to require a vaccine if they're concerned. This is my opinion. They're a private hospital. They can require whatever they want, first and foremost. But I will say that I think it's a sad state of affairs. Because from what I understand, this child has a religious exemption.
That's true.
From the vaccine, and I think they should have to honor that as well. But evidently they're not choosing to. And even if they, and then on the flip side, I also think that their fear of infection with COVID and stuff, the vaccine, neither the flu nor the COVID vaccine prevents you from getting the flu or COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I'm prime example. I've had the Moderna vaccine. I've had COVID twice. It does not prevent you from getting it. It may or may not prevent you from having a really bad case of it. That, in my opinion, remains to be seen. But if they're worried about the illness, Why don't they just test the young lady for flu, test her for COVID? If it's negative, put her in a private room, which I'm sure in the transplant ward, that's a thing anyway. And it's probably heavily, I've seen transplant wards. They're heavily sterile, heavily quarantined anyway. I don't think this is an issue. I don't know why people are dying on this hill, literally, of these vaccines. If somebody doesn't want to have it, test them for the illness. If she has the illness, she can't have her surgery until she's over the illness.
Yep.
And then on top of it, if she has a religious exemption, what makes this any different than a school that allows her to still enroll with a religious exemption?
Yeah, and I was talking with the lady before the show. We were chit-chatting, and she was out and about running some errands. And she said, "What are you going to talk about tonight?" I said, "Well, we got this story," and I didn't mention that it was kind of out of her neck of the woods. And I said, "This thing's got all kinds of hairy permutation off of it." Because let's first of all, the religious exemption. It is recognized under law, or more to the point, should be, that if you, in good conscience before your deity, okay, and as Robert Barnes, the lawyer, has pointed out, it doesn't necessarily have to be a formal religion. If you just state, "I have a religious objection to taking this," then under law, that should be good enough. Okay, so there's that. So if the hospital is doing it on that ground, okay, that's shaky legally. I can see both sides of this. I understand the science of it. If you get a transplant, yeah, you're running the higher risk of infection to certain things. But if we're also talking about the science, the one group that is least at risk for COVID are children. Why? Their immune systems are stronger than the average adult. TBA over on Rumble says, "My body, my choice." Well, there's a great question.
Yeah. And if you're worried about the strain of the body with surgery that it would have if you were infected with either flu or COVID, that's completely understandable.
Yeah.
You test them. And if they test positive, they can't have the surgery until they test negative.
Exactly. It's not like, okay, we're going to put her on the list today, and then 2 hours later, we're prepping her for surgery for a heart transplant. It's going to take some time. And I agree with you. Okay, we have a donor heart. We need to know, is she okay? Is there's no COVID, there's no flu, there's no nothing? Test her for it. And when she tests negative, prep her for the surgery. And then you roll from there. And if it's a thing that you're like, well, this thing's got to be transplanted fast, okay, test her on a regular basis. Have a rolling test going for someone like her. I would understand that. That would make sense to me. But this, and again, this also gets to another question. And I'm not trying to impugn anybody's honor here, but what's the honesty of these parents in this? Again, I'm not saying they're lying. But what if they're making up, "Oh, our kid didn't get on here. Oh, fine. We'll just say da-da-da." Probably not. But I think it's a fair question.
It is. And if, if you're going to lie for your child to get a heart for your dying child, because if you need a heart, you're essentially dying. I can understand the lie. I can understand the motivation to make that lie. Do I think it's right? No, but I can understand that form of lying better than I can other forms of lying, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and Gypsy, I think you bring up a very good point. We got a ton of evidence as it relates to some of these vaccines, and it's not good. It's not good at all. And
I just hope and pray that the Moderna vaccine I took doesn't damage me in the future. Hopefully I got lucky.
Yeah.
Most of the controversy has been about the Pfizer vaccine and the Johnson & Johnson. Hopefully Moderna was a little safer.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
A family member of mine did some of the clinical trials for the Moderna, and she felt very, very confident that it was the safest one. And I am obese. I did have asthma. So I do have asthma. So she just felt it was safe for me wanted me to take it for my own peace of mind and her. So I took it. Now I wish I had. But
yeah, absolutely. Look, in my case, when the vaccine was made available, I'll just tell you, we had a discussion inside my family. My mother at the time would have been probably 83 or 84.
Mhm.
She's now 88. And the big question was, Brian, should I take this thing? I was like, well, let's stop and think about it. 1, you're older. 2, you lead a sedentary lifestyle. I mean, look, and this is before anybody started finding out anything in earnest, you know. And I said, look, given your age, given your health condition, given your sedentary lifestyle, which again, I get it at your age, I understand that. Oh, hello,
Hey,
Gremlin. Hey,
says
Gremlin.
hello.
Hello, Gremlin. I said, yeah, I think you should. And there were relatives of mine who took the vaccine. Me, I made the choice not to for different reasons, which I won't necessarily get into. But, you know, but now knowing everything I know now, if someone said to me, should I take it? And I'll be like,
Not now.
If you choose to do so, I understand, but you need to know these things going in.
I told my family member that I would not take another booster. I took the original vaccine and the round of vaccine, and then I took 1 booster.
Yep.
And I'm like, I will never take another booster.
Yep. Yeah.
Plus, I've already
TBA.
had COVID twice. I think
Mhm.
I've got enough immunity now built up to COVID that I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. TBA over on Rumble says, and I begged all of my relations not to get the jabs. They didn't listen. The death count is now to 3+, and my nephew now has myocarditis. He's 26. I'm like, ooh, jeez. TBA, my sympathies, brother. My sympathies.
I'm
get
sorry.
it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, this story's got so many different angles to it. The religious exemption question to me ought to be enough.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, the hospital, oh no, on the basis of science, we're doing this. Okay. Then on the basis of science, then you still should go forward and put this kid on the heart transplant list.
Yeah. Test
Because-
her.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, I
Your
do and I
excuse
don't.
is about you don't want to operate on somebody that has COVID. I get that.
Oh, yeah.
I
And
absolutely get that. But test
from a
them.
legal and liability standpoint, I get it. I understand. But there are ways to mitigate that legal risk, and there's ways to mitigate the medical risk to the kid.
Right.
You know. So I mean, and look, the parents are the ones making the decision here.
Mhm.
The parents are the ones that are saying we want our child to get a heart transplant.
Right.
You know, we understand that this child may run the risk, later on of being more susceptible to infection from the flu or from COVID. We
You
accept
have-
the risk.
Right. And you have them sign a special waiver to that effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
That you accept there could be added risks because this child's not vaccinated.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it seems to me there ought to be some common sense ways around this, legally or otherwise, so I don't know, man. I don't know. But anyway, I saw that when I went, ooh, yeah, we want to talk about this tonight. This looks pretty good. So with that, it's the top of the hour, and I'm going to toss the tennis ball back over to Tracy across the net. And my dear, what do you want to get into next?
Oh, something to celebrate.
Ah.
That Pam Bondi has decided to go after Letitia James and Kathy Hochul in New York for violations of immigration law. And I have a link to her presser that she did this afternoon.
I just got it. Hang on. I'll get this pulled up real quick. And yeah, this is going to be, this is going to be real good. I think people are going to get quite the kick out of this. Give me 1 second here. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah, this is a 30-second clip. And now stop me if I'm wrong. Do I understand that the Attorney General Bondi has said she is bringing action against the Governor of New York, Hochul, the Attorney General Letitia James of New York, and for not enforcing immigration law?
Correct. Violation of immigration law is what she said. So she didn't completely break it down, but she said she has launched an official inquiry and possible prosecution about it.
All right, let's check this out. And with that, here come on, what's going on here?
We're here today because we have filed charges against. the state of New York. We have filed charges against Kathy Hochul. We have filed charges against Letitia James and Mark Schroeder, who is with DMV. This is a new DOJ, and we are taking steps to protect Americans, American citizens, and angel moms, like the mom standing right behind me, who you're going to hear from in a moment. New York has chosen to prioritize illegal aliens over American citizens. It stops today.
Okay, that's part of it. I'm going to be very interested to see how this one goes down.
Me too.
Very interested.
Me too, because evidently they're basically going after the head of the DMV for giving out driver's licenses to people that weren't properly vetted, and probably just allowing people in and putting them up in hotels using federal funds to do so, of people that weren't properly vetted. And that ain't one of those angel moms she was talking about is the mom of some of the American citizens that have been killed by some of these illegal migrants.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can get my hands real quick.
Now, there's tons of evidence that New York officials knew where a lot of these criminal migrants were that have been deported and gotten back in several times and did not take action. And that led directly to the murders of Laken Riley and others.
Okay. Yeah, this is going to get real interesting real fast. Because and you're seeing it already. You are seeing the difference in attitude and action. Before, this would have been just glossed over and just totally ignored. And now you've got somebody like, no, we've got certain laws on the books. They need to be enforced. So you need to plan on doing it. And if you're not, then we're going to come after you. And that is huge. I'm going to pop the professor's comment up here. I like Bondi. She's redeeming herself in my eyes. I was skeptical of her due to her affiliation with science. Trump would become even more legendary if he shut that organization. Ooh, okay.
Yep.
Now, Trump's got a lot on the plate right now. I'm not sure if he's taking that one on, but maybe he needs to. But we'll see. But thank you, Christian, for the comment. Yeah, I'm trying to find a story to follow up that clip. Let me pop Breitbart for a second. Hang on.
Yeah.
Let's see if they've got or what they've got.
And she had a very busy day today. Not only was she filing these charges and putting together this presser, she also swore in Tulsi Gabbard.
Yes. As a matter of fact, we've got a clip of that, ladies and gentlemen. So give me 1 second. I'll pop that up. I think everybody's going to enjoy this. Check it out.
I, Tulsi Gabbard, do solemnly swear.
Oh, hang on.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. And that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That I take this obligation freely. I take this obligation freely.
All right. There you go, folks. So it's done. Matter of fact, I watched the vote today. It was historic. This was the one of the three most controversial of Trump's cabinet. Kash Patel at FBI, Tulsi at DNI, and RFK Jr. at
HHS.
Yeah, at HHS. This was the one I was the most worried about. But she's going to fly through. It looks like, if I understand correctly, the vote on Robert Kennedy Jr. will probably take place tomorrow, Friday morning at the latest.
And they're predicting 52 to 48, pretty much the same margins you had on Tulsi, because all the Democrats are going to step in line, including Fetterman, screw him, and including Bernie Sanders, screw him. And, of course, turncoat Mitch McConnell.
Oh, well, yeah, let's get into that. For those of you who may not have heard, the vote on Tulsi Gabbard went down. I think it was 52-46 or 52-47, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And who voted out of the Republicans against Tulsi Gabbard? Mitch McConnell. And it's just like,
even
okay.
Susan Collins voted for Tulsi.
Yep. Here's the article from Breitbart. Let's see, by Olivia Rondu had written this for Breitbart. 52-48 with Republican Senator Mitch McConnell joining Democrats against her. I'm telling you, I said this backstage and I back it up right now. He is going to be a horse's rear end all the way through 2026. I think he's retiring. Between his health problems, his age, and the fact he's no longer the leader of the Republican caucus, I say he's retiring. And as he's going out the door, everybody knows he doesn't like Trump. This is his way of giving him the Kentucky finger of friendship and be like, see you later, buddy. I'm out.
Yeah.
So absolutely. I mean, and look,
despicable.
He's got the right to do it. I mean, if he genuinely thinks that Tulsi Gabbard is not fit to be the director of national intelligence, fine. Okay, that's his right to do it. However, he's out on an island all unto himself with this one. And this is
I totally agree. And another one that I missed it, and I know Bernie Sanders is Bernie Sanders. I get it. But Tulsi stepped down from being the vice chair of the DNC because of what they did to Bernie Sanders.
Yep.
She endorsed him for president.
Yep.
Both times he ran. And stepped down because she realized how crooked the DNC was, and that was her stated reason. And for him to vote against her and speak out and call her all the names he's called her, you know what? F you, Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
You're not a populist. You're controlled. Was it Dr. Stephen Turley said it best today? He's controlled opposition.
Yep.
He is controlled by the Democratic Party, but he pretends to be a populist.
Yep. It is amazing to me. I mean, here's the other thing, and let's just talk intermediate and long-term consequence off these votes. Okay. Not so much the Kash Patel vote, because that's going to be just straight partisan. The votes on Tulsi Gabbard, and more particularly RFK Jr., are setting up something that I don't think Democrats truly understand the forces of political nature they're messing with here. Now, here's what I'm getting at. Look, for years, for decades, anytime that I've commented on politics, I've always come at it from the paradigm of the left versus the right, Republicans, Democrats versus Republicans. Those paradigms are gone. If Trump has done nothing else in his time in the American political arena, he has shown everybody, and myself included, okay, that those ways of understanding our political system are basically useless anymore. It's now down to a question of, what I call individual freedom versus supposed benevolent despotism. The Democrats represent supposed benevolent despotism. If you give the government enough power and enough money and enough of your freedom, we'll take care of you. We have to be a little despotic to do it, take away your rights and freedoms, but you know what? You'll be happier. On the other side of that is, screw that. I am of the spirit of 1776. I believe in individual freedom. I'm moving forward, yada, yada, yada. Okay? These Democrats who voted against Tulsi, and if they wind up en masse voting against RFK Jr. on Thursday or Friday, they are setting themselves up for an absolute. They're going to be hunted politically. Now, let me be very careful here. When I say they're going to be hunted politically, you got Nicole Shanahan sitting out there, sitting on billions of dollars, guaranteeing there are going to be people who are going to be primaried. John Ossoff of Georgia is up for re-election in 2026. Don't you think that Nicole Shanahan is not going to spend money during his primary and during the general election to try to take him out if he votes against Bobby Kennedy? I'm trying to think of what other prominent Democrats are up in 26. Mark Warner of Virginia, I believe, is up in 26.
Warnock.
No, Warnock was just elected in 22, but she'll go after him in a few years.
Yeah.
I mean, keep talking for a second, because I mean, Senate. I mean, these guys.
Unfortunately, Bernie Sanders just went back in, and I think this will be his last term.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm trying to find this real fast. Senate seats up in 2026. I mean, I know that Ossoff of Georgia is up. There are a handful of others, but I'm like, man, you guys are really playing with fire here. You really are. Okay, here we go. Here's my list. Let me see. Yeah, among Democrats, I mean, some of these folks are going to be safe. I mean, Jesus could come back and run against these guys, and they'd still win. But I mean, you got people like Ossoff of Georgia. You've got Gary Peters of Michigan's retiring. You've got Mark Warner of Virginia. And on the Republican side, you got people there too, which so far at this point, the Republicans are less at risk of people like Nicole Shanahan than are the Democrats. But the Democrats don't realize what they're doing here. They are already marginalized. They are marginalizing themselves from the American people. The more they vote against the Tulsi Gabbards, the Robert Kennedy Jr.'s, the Kash Patels, they keep fighting and dying on these hills. They are going to put themselves further and further and further out to the point the American people are going to go, we don't want you anymore. Goodbye. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have the Nicole Shanahans and others who are just going to go after them. They're just going to go after them. So, I mean, that's my thoughts on the matter. But yeah, I can't wait to see some. Yeah, I agree with Robert. I think the midterms are going to be crazy. Mm-hmm. You're going to have Republicans being primaried. You're going to have Democrats being primaried. You're going to have people going down in the 26 elections that nobody thought could be at risk. Or if they don't go down, they're going to get the scare of their life put into them. You know. So there's that. So what else on this topic, my dear?
Oh, just that in general. Just I was so hopeful that Sanders and Fetterman had turned the corner, but evidently not.
Yeah, well,
I mean, Fetterman has broke ranks on a couple of nominations and voted with Trump. Maybe there's a little hope there, but I'm totally done with Sanders.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just it. We are in the midst of a generational change in the Senate as well. McConnell, Sanders, you got some old timers that have been there for a long time. And these next 2 or 4 years are probably the last time you're going to see them there. You know, they're either going to retire on their own or they're going to be put out. You know,
the boomers are going to be leaving, and then you're going to see the GenX, the tail end of GenX.
Yeah.
And millennials start to take their place.
Yeah. And as Tulsi won her vote today and was being sworn in, this may very well have been the reaction of a lot of people about what do we do? Do we post something respectful about Tulsi, or do we go the other direction? I don't know. People were just, sweating bullets over this one. I don't know. I saw this one throughout the day and I thought, oh, this is just too funny not to bring it up. So yeah, I saw a clip of her. Is she
Native Hawaiian? Is that her?
I believe she is. I believe she's Native Hawaiian. I saw a clip of her where she was in the something called the Tactical Games, and where she's lifting like 100-pound ball over this. It's like an obstacle course, but it's designed and set up for people in the military. And man, I tell you what, I would not want to get into a fight with that chick. She is one tough lady.
She kicked my butt.
Oh yeah. She's something else. So anyway, so we got all that going on. So, with that, it's about 7:15. We're going to go ahead and do a real quick commercial. My friend over here is Miss Tracy Barkley. She is the hostess with the mostest of GenX Marks the Spot. My name is Brian Trippett. I am known on social media as the Front Porch Conservative. We both have channels on YouTube, and I've got one on Rumble. She's soon to have one on Rumble, by the way. But wherever we are on social media, be it YouTube, Rumble, or even Twitter, why don't you go ahead and give us a follow? We would love to have your support. Tracy does all kinds of really cool stuff with true crime, movie reviews, just a really wonderful range of things. And I mean, first of all, I love having her on my channel. I love being on her channel. Tracy's an absolute sweetheart of a lady, as she no doubt will tell you. But yeah, go ahead and subscribe to her. And yeah, go ahead and give me a sub as well. We're both building up our channels. We're having a lot of fun making content. And if we are your cup of tea or your sip of whiskey, then by all means, spread the word around to your friends and tell them, hey, these two, they're a little crazy, but they're all right. Give them a sub. So there you go. All right. I've got to play something that our friend WWG1 on occasion will frequently send us because, you know, and I hope I'm not stealing any of Tracy's stuff that she wants to talk about tonight, but we can discuss this one jointly together. Just a reminder of what the era of Donald Trump is like. So with that, check out this little 20-second clip because it sets up what we're going to talk about next.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more. We're going to win so much. I love you all.
Yeah, we love you too, Mr. President. Now, I set up that little clip as the backdrop of some news that broke today that people seem to find shocking, but it really shouldn't be, because if you're going to make certain things happen in the world, you have to talk to people, even if it's people you don't necessarily agree with. Now, what I'm alluding to is the following. Donald Trump, on his Truth Social, posted this, and I'm going to read it. It's a little small print, but I'll read this. I just had a lengthy and highly productive phone call with President Vladimir Putin of Russia. We discussed Ukraine, the Middle East, energy, artificial intelligence, the power of the dollar, and various other subjects. We both reflected on the great history of our nations and the fact that we fought so successfully together in World War II, remembering that Russia lost tens of millions of people, and we, likewise, lost so many. We each talked about the strengths of our respective nations and the great benefit that we will someday have in working together. But first, as we both agreed, we want to stop the millions of deaths taking place in the war with Russia and Ukraine. President Putin even used my very strong campaign motto of common sense. We both believe very strongly in it. We agreed to work together very closely, including visiting each other's nations. We have also agreed to have our respective teams start negotiations immediately, and we will begin by calling President Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine to inform him of the conversation, something which I will be doing right now. I have asked Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Director of the CIA John Ratcliffe, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, and Ambassador and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to lead the negotiations, which I feel strongly will be successful. Millions of people have died in a war that would not have happened if I were president, but it did happen, and so it must end. No more lives should be lost. I want to thank President Putin for his time and effort with respect to this call and for the release yesterday of Mark Fogel, which Tracy, I know, wants to talk about. A wonderful man that I personally greeted last night at the White House. I believe this effort will lead to a successful conclusion, hopefully soon. So that was the Truth Social post. And this is, I mean, finally, I can remember Putin being interviewed by Tucker Carlson. And Carlson asked him, and this was it 2023? Yeah, it was 2023 when Carlson did the interview with Putin. And he asked him, when was the last time you talked to Biden? He said, I haven't talked to him since 2021. So for the entirety of the Russia-Ukraine war, Joe Biden never once tried to reach out to Putin again to say, dude, let's get this thing to the table. Let's work this thing out. Now, there's a lot of probably a lot of reasons why, which we could all speculate on, but not once did Putin ever get a phone call from him. Donald Trump hasn't been in office 30 days yet, and he's already reached out to Putin. And maybe more than this.
I suspect he even talked to him before the election was over.
I'd say you're probably right. Or even in the interim between the election and the inauguration. But finally, somebody is saying, okay, let's get you guys to the table.
And it's what should have already been happening. Any competent U.S. president would have. And like as you said, there's all kinds of reasons we could speculate. But what Trump is seeing is China and Iran stand alone.
Yep.
He's going after BRICS. He's going to make sure that BRICS is weakened because BRICS is one of the biggest risks to the U.S. dollar and the U.S. financial dominance around the world. If he can bring Russia over to our side, Russia will be a lot less likely to support BRICS, and you will have China and Iran standing alone against everyone else.
Yep. I mean, and there's a lot of maneuvering that's going on right now. And, I was talking about this last night with Adam from Vets Talking. The biggest worry, and I totally agree with it, the biggest worry right now isn't the Russians. If we were smart and had been smart over the past 25 or 30 years, they'd be a stronger ally as opposed to being a frenemy.
Yeah.
Which to me, that's what we've made them. We've made them a frenemy. We've made them a friendly enemy.
Yeah, exactly.
For no reason other than we could.
The Russians should be an ally. They are very much a Western country.
Yep.
I'll say this with all honesty. The Roman Empire moved east and it became Russia.
Yeah.
Russia is what's left of the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Which is very much a Western thing. They are a Western country with a lot of Western values. They should be on our side. They should not have been blocked off like they were. I mean, they're no longer the hardcore communist threat they once were. So we should have been bringing them back into the fold. We should also be bringing India closer into the fold, which we are. J.D. Vance and his family went over and talked to the president of India.
Yeah, Modi.
So we need to keep Russia and India and Saudi Arabia on our side.
Yeah. And I mean, even when we get to the point that we are energy dominant, okay, which we could very well be easily again in just a few years. Even when we get to the point that we're energy dominant, and if we get to the point that as far as rare earth minerals or things like that, that we are on at least a close or equal footing with other nations, then even then, keep these people close. I mean, even if you don't agree with them on everything, because I mean, China is going to be the problem. They're absolutely going to be the problem. And,
and they're not even secretive about it.
No, the Chinese are very straightforward. You got to know how they operate.
They want to be the new world leader. They want to be the new world leader, and we've got to stop them.
Yep, absolutely. And one more Truth Social post from Trump. I just spoke with President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine. The conversation went very well. He, like Putin, wants to make peace. We discussed a variety of topics having to do with the war, but mostly the meeting that is being set up on Friday in Munich, where Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio will lead the delegation. I am hopeful that the results of that meeting will be positive. It's time to stop this ridiculous war where there's been massive and totally unnecessary death and destruction. God bless the people of Russia and Ukraine. And Putin and Trump have agreed to a series of meetings, but one of the first, and I'm going to go ahead and put this up here. This is from shortly after the swearing-in ceremony of Pam Bondi, and this was Trump in the Oval Office with some interesting news that people hadn't heard until he dropped this little missive.
And we're going to be meeting Actually, tomorrow they're meeting
Hang on just a second, folks. There we go.
in Munich, as you know, and we're going to have some other meetings, and I'll be dealing with President Putin largely on the phone, and we ultimately expect to meet. In fact, we expect that he'll come here and I'll go there, and we're going to meet also probably in Saudi Arabia. The first time we'll meet in Saudi Arabia, see if we can get something done. But we want to end that war. That war is a disaster. It's a really bloody, horrible war.
Okay. So apparently there's going to be a sit down between Trump and Putin in Saudi Arabia. When? To be determined. But that, to me, is great news. It's just a great news. I mean, look, I mean, I've got my opinions about the whole Ukraine-Russia war, and I've expressed them on many occasions. But this needs to end. The Ukrainians are getting slaughtered.
If Joe Biden and if people in his administration end up in hell after they die, it's in large part to what they did to the people of Ukraine and the people of Russia.
Yeah.
That was one, I'll say it out loud, it's one big money laundering operation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And Ukraine was being propped up.
Yeah.
And forced to fight a proxy war against somebody that didn't want to fight us.
Yeah. And the worst part was not once, but twice, the Russians and the Ukrainians had agreed to terms, and in comes Boris Johnson of Great Britain, and some would argue on behalf of the Biden administration, whispering in the ears of the Ukrainians, you can do it. Don't worry. The West will back you up on this. NATO will help you out. Yada, yada, yada. Stand up to the Russians. And now hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian soldiers are dead. Towns completely devastated. Cities laying in ruin.
They've set the Ukrainian and the Russian people back 20, 30 years. They've set the militaries of both countries back 50 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's unfathomable. And you don't have to like Putin. You don't have to like Zelensky, but you have to care. I think you have to care about the people of the countries because they're innocent pawns.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. Wholeheartedly agree.
The Biden administration and other very globalist administrations around the world, we're using this as a chess match.
Yep. And
they wanted a second Cold War. They wanted a second Cold War with the West versus China, Russia, and Iran.
Yeah.
And that's a very dangerous situation to put other people in the world again.
Yeah. And like you said, for what? Well, money laundering. And this is a good point too. Zelensky is horrible is probably the mildest way of describing him.
When's the last time they had an election in Ukraine?
He's overstayed his presidency by, I think, almost now 2 years. I mean, they are.
Now we know the elections in Russia are pretty much rigged. Yeah. We know that, but it's like Christian says. At least we know
Putin's
that Putin is a gangster.
Yeah,
Putin's father worked for Stalin. Of course, he's a gangster. He learned all that from the original gangster.
Yeah, emotionally. Yeah, yep. I agree. I mean, I agree, Christian. I agree with all that. I mean, it's time to bring peace to the area. It really is. Yeah, and Patty, you're absolutely right, dear. You're absolutely right. It's just awful what's going on.
And you can't. And they wanted to paint the fact that Russia was, they're into Ukraine. Now they'll go after Poland. I don't think Poland was ever on their target list. They considered Ukraine part of Russia. When Ukraine said they were going to join NATO, that was the last straw.
Yeah.
He did not want NATO pressed up against his border.
Yep. And has always told everybody this. And for 30 years, the Russians have been saying this. We revisited that topic last night on my live stream with Adam from Vets Talking. Not 1 inch. That's what we told the Russians back in the early 1990s. Not 1 inch. We will not let NATO move 1 inch beyond where it was. And we just kept letting NATO move further east.
And got Finland. We put Finland in. So they got Finland on their border. And then Ukraine, I think that was just the last straw.
Yeah. Plus, the eastern parts of Ukraine have native Russian-speaking people who have wanted to be part of Russia for the longest time. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons for the Russians. Yeah, let them
And
go.
I think that's what's going to happen. They're going to have to let Russia keep the territory they've already kept. Anybody that wants to remain with Ukraine will have to move west, further into Ukraine, and there will have to be some sort of demilitarized zone. They're probably guarded by troops of both countries on either side, and maybe even an EU force, because NATO does not need to get involved.
No. NATO has made. If ever there was an argument for why the U.S. ought to get out of NATO, it's this whole debacle. It really is. The U.S. needs to be out of NATO at a minimum. Frankly, I think NATO ought to be dissolved.
We don't need NATO anymore. The Cold War is over.
Exactly.
You can still have alliances. You can still have protection agreements with certain countries.
Yep, absolutely. But
I mean,
instead,
look at us in Canada. We don't. Okay, yeah, Canada's part of I think Canada's part of NATO. But even without NATO, I'm pretty sure Canada knows we would go to bat for them if somebody tried to invade Canada because they're our neighbor. Same with Mexico. We don't have an official agreement with Mexico, but if China or somebody, Cuba, whoever tried to invade Mexico and we're in our basement, pretty sure we'd do something about that.
Yeah, if for no other reason, the question of the Monroe Doctrine.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So hopefully we're heading toward a better. Let's just see how all this plays out. Let's see how all this plays out. But at least the principals are talking to each other.
Yep.
And you'll notice one thing: Trump's not waiting around for the Europeans to try to negotiate peace on this.
Well,
He's like,
they're not going to.
Yeah, and they have no
the
incentive.
Europeans have their own problems. The Europeans they need to be making nice with Russia and getting that natural gas and getting the energy they need from Russia. They need to be making nice with Russia.
Yeah.
And they need to, everybody needs to be investing more in nuclear energy. And, and did you see where Trump met with the president of Jordan? And he has agreed to take, I think he said 20,000 children from Gaza in for safekeeping until Gaza is rebuilt.
No, I did not see that.
Yeah, let me see if
Interesting.
I can find it.
Yeah, if you can. And I'll tell you what, while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and address this one. Off topic, may I ask a dumb question? Is there a reason we must label ourselves boomers, X, Generation Y? I don't get it. Wish someone would explain it to me when you get a minute. Well, I mean, look, the only reason that I use the labels, if for nothing else, is just an understanding of generation, and that's primarily the only reason why I do it. And and in some cases, I'm not saying this is true of every person of that particular generation, there are certain attitudes that come along with it. And whether those attitudes are right or wrong, I mean, I think people of the baby boomer generation view the world a particular way, especially in the question of foreign policy. I think a lot of what's on Capitol Hill right now are people who grew up in the era Russians are bad, Russians are bad, Russians are bad, and that thinking is just blinding them to the possibility that there could be another way. And I'm not saying that's all of it. I'm not trying to be naive and say, well, that's the only reason why they're taking the positions that they're taking. But that's to go back to answer the question. That's the primary reason why I do it, is just to kind of identify the generations. Nothing more than that.
There, especially here in the United States, certain generations, that is people that were born between certain years, which is how the generations are marked off, have similar life experiences, similar culture, similar beliefs. And so it's a good predictor of the kinds of decisions that they will make. And that's the reason that I use it.
Yeah. Okay. Totally that. Yeah. And to answer Lana's question, didn't Putin at one time want to join NATO? Absolutely.
Back during Clinton's administration, he tried.
Yeah. He tried. He made overtures to Clinton, and Clinton was almost there. And finally, at the last second, Clinton just backed off of it and said, I don't think we can make it happen now. Putin's tried to join NATO, the European Union. The European Union wouldn't have anything to do with him. So it's like, I kind of get. I kind of get.
I get why he's a little salty.
Yeah. I get it.
And then he gets somebody like Trump that's willing to talk with him. And also you notice the rightward swing in a lot of European countries right now.
Yeah.
Italy.
Oh,
Hasn't Germany now swung pretty
it's
much to the
well.
right?
I think they've got elections coming up. I want to say it's in the next 30 to 45 days. I'm not sure the exact date.
But they're looking for the right-wing party to take some seats.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Poland has had a huge right-wing shift.
Oh yeah.
And they're expecting, I think it's going to happen in Britain before long.
Oh yeah. Keir Starmer is just sinking like a. Oh, actually, the German elections are coming up around the end of this month.
So we'll know. And don't they
Yeah.
expect the right-wing party to take some seats?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think the 23rd of February, which actually should be a Sunday. Yeah, it will be a Sunday. So yeah, here in about 10 or 11 days, we're going to find out. I mean, do I expect populist right wing to take over Germany? No, but they're going to take a chunk out of their legislature. That's for daggone sure.
They did in Italy.
Oh yeah.
And look how South America has swung heavily to the right.
Very true.
El Salvador,
very,
Argentina.
very true. Yep. Yeah. I agree completely. So, and with that, I tell you what, I'm going to toss the tennis ball or smack the pickleball back over to the other side of the net. Right. So what you got, dear?
I just threw that link in there where it's talking about the agreement Trump made with the president of Jordan. And he's going to be speaking to Egypt. He's going to get them both to agree to help with the rebuilding of Gaza.
Okay, hang on. Let me pop this up here real quick.
And moving people out temporarily so you can clean up and build is not racial cleansing. I get so sick of hearing that term misused.
Yeah. Okay, I tell you what. Let's pop this up here real quick. And here
King Abdullah.
King Abdullah.
President, why should the king take in the Palestinian people? He's made clear he doesn't want to.
Well, I don't know, but he may have just something to say because we discussed just briefly. I think maybe you want to say it now, or
well, Mr. President, I think we have to keep in mind that there is a plan from Egypt and the Arab countries. We're being invited by Mohammed bin Salman to discussions in Riyadh. I think the point is how do we make this work in a way that is good for everybody? Right. Obviously, we have to look at the best interests of the United States, of the people in the region, especially to my people of Jordan. And we're going to have some interesting discussions today. I think one of the things that we can do right away is take 2,000 children that are either cancer children or in a very ill state to Jordan as quickly as possible, and then wait for, I think, the Egyptians to present their plan on how we can work with the president to work on Gaza challenges.
And we'll be working on the rest with Egypt. I think you're going to see some great progress. I think with Jordan, you're going to see some great progress. Three of us, and we'll have some others helping, and we're going to have some others at a very high level helping, and the whole thing will come. It's not a complex thing to do. And with the United States being in control of that piece of land, a fairly large piece of land, you're going to have stability in the Middle East for the first time. And the Palestinians, or the people that live now in Gaza, will be living beautifully in another location. They're going to be living safely. They're not going to be killed, murdered, and having to leave every 10 years, because I've been watching this for so many years. It's nothing but trouble.
You know, his sense of optimism is admirable, but I don't know.
It's a starting point. It's a starting point.
I can give you that.
Hopefully they can come to some sort of agreement, and they'll maybe 4 or 5 countries split them up so that one country is not overburdened. But a lot of these countries are afraid to take these people because they've already tried to stage coups in their country before.
Yeah, I mean,
I understand why Egypt says, "Oh no, they tried to overthrow our government once before." I don't know.
Well,
no.
Well, the Egyptians, the Jordanians, the Saudis, Lebanon, everywhere the Palestinians have gone, and I'm not necessarily blaming the Palestinian people. And I know that anytime I bring up this subject, it's like, well, the Palestinian people are Hamas. Hamas is the Palestinian people. Well, I'm still willing to make a distinction.
Let's say there's like 30% good Palestinians. I would like to see the 30% good Arabs. Let's call them Arabs because that's what they are.
Okay.
Arabs can find a home.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. I understand. I mean, we're talking going back to the 1960s. This has been going on. The Palestinians go into a country, and what happens? Then you've got a coup attempt, and everywhere the Palestinians have gone, they have been kicked out. The Egyptians, I really get it, because it's like,
The only place
no.
I think I would put them is the Sinai Desert, and you build a wall.
Well, I mean, I've thought about that very same thing, because to me, I'm not saying give all of the Sinai Peninsula to the Palestinians. Why can't we give them a strip of land along the coast, so you'd have access to the Mediterranean? Set them up on a strip of land, maybe a little longer and a little wider, so they could not all the way down to the peninsula, but a significant portion of land, and give them the chance, and just make the rest of it. At least Egypt would say, okay, you're not coming any further than the peninsula, and the Israelis can go, you ain't coming up here. Make it work where you are. I mean, there's got to be one piece of land on this planet, one piece of land that you can surely, if all the parties are agreeable to it, okay, if all the parties are agreeable to it, and say, okay, this is the home of the Palestinians, it's yours, make it work.
But I'm not sure about putting them back in Gaza, because they're too close to Israel.
Well, they've ruined the place.
I think you clean it up, and you let the countries that have taken these people in build that thing up, maybe like Trump said, into a resort area.
Yeah, who knows?
Brings in money, and you split the money between the countries that have taken these people in. Because I'm not sure you can put them back there without them getting destroyed again.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
There's too much anti-Israel, we want to wipe Israel off the face of the earth attitude that's still around.
Yeah, absolutely. TBA says, well, where would you put the Palestinians then, Brian? I don't know. See, this is the problem. There is, in order for this glorious idea of mine to work, TBA, some nation in the Middle East is going to have to voluntarily, or maybe with payment of money, I don't know which, is going to have to give up a piece of real estate to make this work. And frankly, none of them want to, because frankly, the history between the Palestinians and that respective nation is probably so bad, they wouldn't do it anyway. Well, and that's another fair question. Why the Middle East? Why couldn't it be somewhere else? What's
Africa?
Madagascar? I don't know.
Is there an island somewhere in the Mediterranean that's pretty well uninhabited? We could just put them over there.
Yeah, but it had to be large enough to accommodate however many millions of people. Yeah, I agree. It's just, I don't know.
And I know many people will, like M16 says, Lana says, many people will claim it's just another open air prison. Yeah. But if you look at it that way, every place on earth is an open air prison. There's borders everywhere. I can't just go waltzing into Canada or waltzing into Mexico. You know, come on.
Yeah. So I don't know.
They have to learn to live and play nice with other people.
I'm just worried about us getting sucked in. I mean, look, as far as I'm personally concerned, and this is just me talking here, as far as I'm personally concerned, we're too far sucked into the Middle East anyway. Okay, for any number of reasons. I'm just worried about Trump's going to make the mistake. His optimism is going to get the better of his common sense, and we're going to get sucked in deeper into this thing when we absolutely need to be extricating ourselves out of it.
I agree, but hopefully he'll let these countries handle it themselves.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed.
And it'll work out, because we've got to do something. We can't let that keep erupting into war. Either that, or the less desirable option is to let Israel finish it.
Ugh.
And we know what that means. There won't be anybody alive anymore in Gaza, and we don't want that.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. It's crazy. Just crazy. All right. What else you got, darling?
That's pretty much all I have, except for that's pretty much all I had.
Okay. Well, I've got one more item, and this goes back to the news about Ukraine and Russia. And Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, put Europe on notice. And the bomb he dropped in this little 45-second clip has put Europe and Ukraine on notice. And this, I am happy to see this statement made. So with
And
that,
Trump timed this so well. They timed it so well.
Beautifully. Check it out, folks.
The United States does not believe that NATO membership for Ukraine is a realistic outcome of a negotiated settlement. Instead, any security guarantee must be backed by capable European and non-European troops. If these troops are deployed as peacekeepers to Ukraine at any point, they should be deployed as part of a non-NATO mission, and they should not be covered under Article 5. There also must be robust international oversight of the line of contact. To be clear, as part of any security guarantee, there will not be U.S. troops deployed to Ukraine.
Glory, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Yep. Tracy, it sounds like he's been listening to our live stream.
Exactly.
And more particularly, he was listening to you. No
NATO for Ukraine. No NATO for Ukraine. You need a demilitarized zone with European peacekeepers to guard it, or better, Russians on one side and Ukrainians on the other side, just like we had with the Cubans at Gitmo.
Yep. Now there's one when Trump put out that Truth Social post and he announced the negotiating team. We were talking about this backstage. There was one person whose name was conspicuously absent. And this was not necessarily, I didn't catch this at first, but the boys from the Duran, Alexander Cristofaro and I should say Alexander Macoris and Alex Cristofaro pointed this out. And I thought, you know what? They're absolutely right. Retired General Keith Kellogg, Trump's Ukraine point man, was not listed as somebody in the negotiations. Now, maybe he's going to be, and Trump just didn't list his name, or maybe it's a thing where, General Kellogg is falling out of favor. We'll see how this plays out. But some people have been wondering, is Kellogg really giving Trump the best advice on this? Well, when I listened to that statement from Hegseth, and then I listened to Trump or read Trump's Truth Social post, and again, we don't know what we don't know. So, I'm just reading into this. I could be dead wrong in my suppositions here. But I get the distinct impression Trump's like, okay, I've had enough of this. This is how it's going to roll. And no offense, General Kellogg, I'm going to follow my own counsel on this. So we'll see what happens here. But, that statement from Hegseth, brilliant. Absolutely.
Of course, people will say, well, the United States is not the be-all, end-all. Actually, with NATO, we kind of are.
Yeah.
Since we fund the thing. All Trump has to say is, I'm pulling out of NATO. And it dissolves completely. It's moot. And
the other part of Hegseth's message to the Europeans is, that 2% of your GDP you've been putting into NATO, nah, you need to up it to 5%. He flat out said, and I don't have the quote pulled up here, but he flat out said, we're focusing on our own borders, and Europe needs to start focusing on its own security. Yeah. That ought to scare the Europeans.
More globalism. No more globalism. Globalism is fine to a point. You can do business with other countries. I can work for a UK company, somebody in the UK can work for an American company remotely. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is there's no more trying to erase the borders, which is what we've been trying to do.
Absolutely.
And you can't do that. You can't do that. And I heard somebody on CBC, Canadian television, say one time when somebody asked them, well, what would the Canadian counter be to you need to pay your full 5%? And she said, well, I'm sure our government would say, well, we need that money to fund the health care for our own citizenry. I'm like, that, so do we. So does the United States.
Yeah. Everybody doesn't mind, being involved everywhere else in the world so long as the United States is paying for it.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, enough of that. You can't
afford your NATO dues. You need to drop out of NATO.
Yeah, exactly. So I tell you what, I'll go ahead and start the process of bringing it into the train station, as I like to say. And WWG1 sent me something for the Merry Memes section. I couldn't figure out where to put it, but I tell you what, this is probably one of the coolest things I've seen put together. And I thought this would be a really great way to close out the live stream. You've heard of the Untouchables. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Here Come the Unstoppables. This runs about 2.5 minutes, but this thing is so well put together. It's worth every bit of it. And I hope you guys enjoy this as much as I did. So with that, check this out. A little bit dated, I grant you, but not too bad.
Watch what happens over the next couple of weeks.
Okay, TBA says that is not dated, it's up to date. Well, let me explain why I made the statement that I thought it was dated. I saw the that special attorney back during the first Trump administration, and I cannot think of his last name for the life of me. John, what was his last name? Gentleman with the goatee and the glass. No, not Bolton. It was, darn it, I cannot think of his name. That's the only reason why I said it was dated, but otherwise, that's really good. And matter of fact, I want to know if WWG1 made that, because I saw like one of those marquee, John Durham, thank you. I saw John Durham in that thing. That's why I thought it was dated. So that, my apologies. But yeah, that was, I think, I'm wondering if WWG1 actually made that, because I saw on one of those marquees, those neon marquees in the background, I saw his WWG1 name, and I thought, did he make that thing? But either way, that was fantastic. So, oh yeah, like, well, the sound, the music, I'm pretty sure is from the Untouchable soundtrack. But yeah, it's very, very well done. Very well done indeed. So yeah, with that, we're going to go ahead and bring it into the train station. Tracy, what have you got coming up on your channel? What videos have you got cooking? What's going on with you? And where can people go find you?
I've got that recut of my dark web Silk Road video that'll be dropping very soon. And then I've got our best of superhero and comic book TV shows and movies next week on Wednesday night Newsroom. And that's what I've got coming up.
All right. Well, cool. Well, for my part, I've got I'll probably have a video out tomorrow night, maybe one more on Friday. I'll go ahead and let everybody know now. I have company coming into town, so there will be no brunch this weekend. I will just let everybody know, and I will also post it again on Twitter. But there will be at least one more video from me this week, maybe two, but for sure at least one more. So with that, we're going to go ahead and call it a night. Thank you so much for being here for the Wednesday night newsroom. We love you guys. Thank you for all the comments, for all the memes, the everything else. You guys are totally awesome. You guys have a great rest of your Wednesday night. And with that, we will see you later. Ta-ta.